Welcome, everyone. Great to have our commissioners on, but also have some guests with us today. See Susan, a familiar face. It's nice to see you again, Susan. Welcome to the end of year Richfield Sustainability Commission meeting. We don't normally meet in December, but we had to reschedule our November meeting. We have a pretty packed agenda today, so we'll try to keep things moving along as best we can. And we'll start with approval of the minutes and agenda. There have been some edits to the original November agenda since Rachel last sent it out, so you can see the changes on the screen. We'll just have an additional staff report from Partners in Energy, moved the letter of support for the anaerobic digester under action items. I think those the only main changes. And the minutes, you want to scroll down to those from our previous
Yeah,
meeting?
I pulled them up in Word just so you know. We're still running into whatever PDF issue. So hold on a second while I pull up the minutes. I don't know what's going on there. Okay. The minutes are exactly the same as what was sent out last time, obviously.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do we have a second? Wait, was that Alyssa? Or?
Yeah, sure was.
Okay, sorry. I'm having trouble with this headset.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Alyssa. Do we have a second? Anybody?
I think our options are limited to Jeremy and Brian. So
Jeremy or Brian, we will need one of you to second it.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Brian. I'm hoping I'm calling out the right people right now. All right, the minutes and agenda are approved. Thank you both. Okay, I can see people better now. Thank you for stopping sharing. Rachel, do you know if Carolyn is going to join us, Rachel?
The only absence I'm aware of is Jenna's, so I don't know.
Okay, just as a point of order, do we have quorum?
Yes.
For people? Okay. All right, let's start with our public comments. We have some guests today from the League of Women Voters. Donna Drummond is on the agenda, but I also see Susan is here. Are there any other guests? Dan? Another guest. So why don't we start with Donna? So you can share your public comment. We encourage people to keep it to 3 minutes just to see what if we were in person at a council.
Sure. Well, again, I'm Donna Drummond. I'm on the board of the Richfield or League of Women Voters Richfield, and joining me is Susan Rosenberg, who's our president. Carolyn Engeldinger is also on our board, but she's not signed in yet for this meeting, but also on the Sustainability Commission. The major focus for the Richfield League has been how to help Richfield residents reduce their residents and businesses reduce their carbon footprint. So how can we help residents and businesses learn how to live more sustainably, operate more sustainably? And one of the ideas that we have been discussing is the idea of having a sustainability fair. I don't know how many of you were around when we had the Richfield Remodeling Fair, and I'm not even sure what years that happened. I did work on that, but it was a one-day event that was held at the high school. Had lots of vendors where people could just come in during the time of the fair and go to different vendors to learn about things related to remodeling. So we're thinking that something like that related to sustainability would be really great too. I have a feeling there are a lot of people who are interested in perhaps solar panels for their home or electric vehicles or home energy efficiency composting low waste packaging. There's just a whole variety of things that we could talk about, and they don't really know where to go for that information. So this is an idea that we could host this fair. We're thinking that it will take partners. We would love to partner with the Sustainability Commission and the City of Richfield. This would be a fairly major event, I think, and effort. So your partnership would be great, as well as we'd be looking for other partners, perhaps the Chamber of Commerce and others. Thinking that it would be best to target perhaps the spring Earth Day of 2023. I know that seems far off, but just the amount of time it takes to organize an event like this and get vendors signed up, it would take, a bit of time. And also it would perhaps give a chance for the COVID situation to settle down a little bit. So the types of vendors that we're thinking of would be things like, and I mentioned a few of these, electric vehicles, solar energy, more on recycling, composting, compostable products, home energy efficiency, walking, biking, transit, low waste packaging, water conservation, sustainable yard maintenance, landscaping, rain gardens, health and wellness. Could be related to things like sustainable eating. What are ways that we can change our diets perhaps to have less impact on the planet, organic gardening, green home remodeling. So there's all sorts of possibilities there, and we think it's pretty exciting and hope that you would be interested in working with us on that. And Susan, I don't know if you have anything to add to that?
No, you pretty much explained it. I think with the change, one thing, the change in our trash hauling, questions about composting have been coming up. I mean, I see it on Facebook, I see things. So there's a lot of interest out there and learning about, and I think just increasing awareness, and that's what the league is really, one of their main tenets is education. And this would really fall into that spectrum of education. But it's always good to have as many partnerships as possible. And so you guys were kind of the first natural choice that we talked about. And so like Donna said, we really have quite a long window to look at, but these things do take time. So we're kind of like starting to just getting it out there, and really would like to, for you folks to discuss, and we can come back and talk more about it, or however you want to work this out. But this is just we're putting our toe out there in the water. And so this year, our first group to go to. So anyway, this is just, I really think that this was Donna's and a couple other board members' idea, and it's really a good one. And I really would like to fly with it. So we'll leave it in your hands now, and then you guys come back and we'll meet again.
Thank you so much, Donna and Susan, for sharing that great idea. Did you have a time frame associated with it?
Yeah, I think I'd mentioned that we're thinking that Earth Day, there's a nice synergy there, and it's springtime, Earth Day 2023, so that people, there'd be a little bit of time to plan, but spring is kind of a time where people are thinking about outdoor projects or getting out and being more active and interested in getting out of the house. So maybe that would be a great time to target that. And I think the remodeling fair was maybe in the spring, I can't remember, but it was held at the high school, which was a great central location in the cafeteria. I know the high school's been remodeled, but we'd want to work with the high school, hopefully, and be able to get that space, thinking probably like a Saturday, and then having a morning and afternoon sessions so that people could just stop by when it worked into their schedule.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I missed that before. So Earth Day 2023, sustainability. Very cool. Thanks for sharing, both of you.
Very welcome.
Did we have another guest that wanted to share a public comment? Dan, I see your name on here.
I'm here and I'm a guest. I don't have a comment to share. I'm on Eden Prairie Sustainability Commission, And I also work at Best Buy, so I just was interested in hearing what the Richfield Commission is doing, if that's okay.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, all of our guests are welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting if you want to listen in.
Well, thank you, Amanda.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
of
you.
course. Rachel, were there any other public comments that were sent to you?
No, I don't have any, and I think that the idea from the league is something that will definitely come up again when we start talking about 2022 brainstorming and things like that. So we can definitely return to this conversation. I do have a lot of ideas for partners on those various topics, both staff, city staff, and external partners that we have. So I think this is definitely something that both the city and the commission can jump on for sure.
Great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the idea. So thank you for bringing it up. Look forward. Give us something to work toward 2023.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, Rachel, let's go ahead and move on to your staff reports. Let's just start like we usually do with the other category, because that might be more brief.
Sure, I should really just reorder those, to be honest.
Commissioner recruitment and applications.
Yeah, that's the quickest one. So just a quick reminder, if your term's up and you're planning on reapplying, you need to explicitly let me know so I can fill out an evaluation. I can't remember off the top of my head who that applies to here, so I'm not going to single anybody out, but I haven't gotten anything. So if you're interested in reapplying, just let me know. Otherwise, the commission applications are open, so please spread the word. Obviously, we have a few open spots with some of our previous commissioners moving out of town, so feel free to spread the word amongst friends, family, obviously those who live in Richfield. And yeah, I think, Amy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think applications are due at the end of the month. Okay, great. So yeah, still quite a bit of time, even with the holidays and everything. I think that's all I have for commissioner recruitment. If you have any questions or would like me to send information to someone that you know, just let me know. Hey, Ben. That's it. That's all for other, I think.
Great. Any
I'll move
questions
on.
about application? Just to make sure everybody has the info they need. Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. I'll move to partners in energy now. I just had a meeting with some of our partners in energy staff members who are helping out, and they gave me some numbers on the Richfield Business Blitz that we talked about, I believe, happening in October. And so just a quick story. The energy efficiency auditors asked our partners in energy staff member Deirdre how many energy audits she was hoping, or lighting audits, sorry, that she was hoping Richfield businesses would do. And this was before the blitz happened. And she was like, I 40 is we hope 40. And they're like, that's way too high. You need to definitely tone it down. Like these are successful, but they're not that successful. So I don't know what her revised hope was, but she told me today that it turned out that we actually had 35 lighting audits during that business blitz in Richfield. So really, really, really good. They are going to be using Richfield as an example for other PI cities doing business blitzes for whatever works super well in Richfield. And she said that those 35 lighting audits does not include businesses that also signed up for things like HVAC, upgrade rebates, and anything that's not a lighting audit that was also offered by the staff members that were out there talking to businesses. So more than 35 interactions that are resulting in Richfield businesses taking the next step with energy efficiency. So that could be things like signing up for programs like solar rewards or wind source or things like that. So super, super successful, especially for something that's happening during a pandemic that is a face-to-face interaction with businesses. And we'll just keep everybody updated on what that results in terms of actual energy savings. Obviously, with the audits just happening and those first steps just being taken. We don't have those numbers yet, but I think it'll be a really cool cohort to follow, so to speak. So that was super successful. We did have our residential energy efficiency event over the weekend, right smack dab in the Vikings game. So it wasn't, you know, the highest event turnout that we've ever had. But we did have 100% of the residents that showed up signed up for home energy squad visits and got lighting kits and things like that. So that was also really successful. Residents asking about next steps to look into installing rooftop solar. So a couple of big ambitious projects coming out of that, hopefully. And yeah, we'll use it as a learning experience on how we can continue to interact with residents, hopefully in person, even during the pandemic, to get these lighting kits out there and help especially residents of Richfield who are experiencing the energy burden that we've talked about before, especially as rates for heating and cooling and electricity continue to go up. So if you're interested in an energy kit, it's mostly light bulbs, just FYI. If you're interested in one of those, or if you have connections to groups or other residents who would be interested, let me know. We might be putting a table with giveaways at City Hall to get residents who are coming in a fairly like low contact way, obviously, to be able to share those resources. So yeah, that's it for now on Partners in Energy. Any questions? Yeah, Ben.
Rachel, I was just wondering, I think at least a few of the local churches have like green teams or things like that. Would that be a good place to like give them 5 to 10 of these lighting kits and have them hand them out to members?
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely something that you know, I really just want to get these in people's hands. They're in the basement of Public Works. They're not doing anything. So if anybody wants them, you know, in Richfield and has, you know, wants them for themselves or to share, like you're saying, I'm more than happy to drop some off at churches or businesses or anything like that. So yeah, just send me an email if you know of anybody. Otherwise, at some point, hopefully I can proactively reach out, but that point is probably not in the next few weeks. So if connections can be made with me, that's easier. And then we'll figure out the need to get them over to a church or business or home or whatever.
Any other questions? Are you ready to move on to organized collection, Rachel?
Always. Okay. Organized collection. I mean, the train keeps going, so that's good. We are continuing, obviously, to work with haulers on fixing, you know, kinks in the system, holes in communication, and things like that. And we have seen a decrease in many of the types of problems that we were experiencing kind of for the first few months as we were transitioning to the system, which obviously very normal. So you know, it continues to be a really smooth transition overall, especially when we have looked at, you know, what other cities have gone through as well. I do appreciate all of the residents who reach out to me. We have a lot of very patient residents, and I really do appreciate that when they're reporting missed pickups or other issues, and understanding that, you know, it takes a while sometimes to figure out the root cause of why issues are happening. But, you know, I certainly am trying my best, and the haulers are working hard on this as well. So yeah, I mean, we're done with yard waste season, so that's a big kind of step to be done with our first yard waste season. And then I think we've already started calculating, Roxanne was calculating some of the tonnage with organics, and I think, Roxanne, please correct me if I'm wrong, because you know this way more than I do, but I think you were looking at October and November tonnage, because that's what we had the numbers for, or partially like that, and we were already over 45 tons of organics collected. So so yeah, that's great. So continuing education with that, and making sure that, you know, residents know what they're doing and putting the right things in the organics cart, as well as obviously in every other cart as well. So not a huge update about organized collection, but as always, if anyone has questions, more than happy to answer anything.
Do you know what percentage we're at now for households signed up for
I don't have a
organics?
recent update. We're still trying to have a lot of number of things going on right now with the city and the haulers and everything like that. So we're working on getting that figured out, especially as we go into 2022 and start planning some bigger initiatives around, you know, dispersing compostable bags to residents and looking at, you know, kind of some those efforts that we've talked about previously with bags and billing credits and things like that. So we will know that soon, as we have to check back in to make sure that, you know, we're planning for a correct number of residents, but we're definitely over 20% of the city, which is, it's, when I talk to other cities, that everyone is very surprised that we have grown that fast that quickly. So it might not seem like a lot, but for an organics program, especially laid out the way that Richfields is, it's very good growth.
Other questions for Rachel? Lots of thumbs up for you, Rachel.
I'll take it. Thank you.
All right. Hearing none, let's move on to our discussion items. So I guess discussion item, because I think we'll shift the letter, the action items portion. So why don't we go ahead and start then with our main discussion item, this 2022 Commission Work Plan Brainstorming Session. So Ben and Rachel and Jeremy and I had kind of talked about, well, first of all, I should say that Ben, doing his great due diligence as a council member and a liaison to this group, had some conversations with all the commissioners over the last few months to talk about, you know, just kind of like interest in the commission, but also some ideas for where we might go next. And that prompted some discussion about where we would be going next. We have had a lot of great accomplishments this last year, and Rachel and I will be sharing those accomplishments with the council later this month at kind of their end of year commission update session. So we have a lot of exciting things to share, a lot of progress having been made around an action plan and organized hauling and the provision of organics recycling. And these things are going to continue, and they're certainly going to continue to be a big part of Rachel's workload, which we recognize. But, you know, it sort of does, since we've gotten some major victories there, it frees up some space for us, especially as a commission, to think about other ways that we might be able to support the city and think about how to engage on some new ideas around sustainability. So with that in mind, we thought we might spend a little bit of time at this end of year meeting thinking about where we might be going in 2022. So Rachel, you have shared.
I put a link in the chat. It's to a Google Doc that hopefully everybody can access. I don't think you need a Google account to do so, but let me know if you have trouble accessing it, and I can also share the screen. And there's 2 slides to it. I should probably also share the screen just because this is a recorded meeting. So I'll probably do that in a second. But anyway, the 2 slides, the first one is the existing 2022 projects that I thought of off the top of my head, either things that we did not get to this year because of everything, or things that were started this year but need to be finished next year, like the tree preservation policy, and or other stuff that has come up. I just added the League of Women Voters idea, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So that's the first slide, and we can spend some time on talking about that and seeing if there are any projects that I am forgetting. Obviously, the goal is not to fill every every box. This is just a format that we've used in meetings before, and it's worked out nice. And then the second page is for new ideas, 2022 and or the future. If there's something that you've thought of before that you really want the commission to look at, that hasn't been discussed as a project for next year, that would be the place to just kind of park that. Again, goal is not to necessarily fill up all the boxes. We do want to be realistic with knowing staff capacity and time, and obviously that you all are volunteers as well. And so, being aware of how much time you're able to contribute. But that being said, you should be able to just click on a box and type in it. So everybody go right ahead. Obviously,
Well,
for this portion, I would ask that Dan does not contribute. I think that'd probably be a little obvious, but members of the commission and or staff, please, feel free, and I can go ahead and share, and we can start the conversation as well.
Yeah, so go ahead and work on sharing your screen, Rachel. And before we dive
Yep.
in to actually adding to this document, I did want to give Ben the opportunity, if you want, Ben, to share some like introductory thoughts, because you did sort of have the opportunity to connect with everybody and do a little pre-brainstorming. So if you do have any opening thoughts that you want to share to kind of seed the conversation, you have the floor.
Sure. And the first thing I'll say is I don't think I got to everyone. I think, now it's been a couple months, and so if you're one of the people I didn't talk to, let's talk soon. I think there were one or two that hadn't heard back from and then lost track of because my work got busy. So no blame in either direction, but let's talk. That'd be great. But I think the main thing, the community gardens was certainly one that I had heard a few people interested in. Well, actually, before I talk specific ideas, I think there was just a general acknowledgement that there are some things that are sort of already in motion that come to the commission for sort of feedback and input, and that's great. But that people were also sort of wondering, like, I have my own, like, you're on this commission because you have your own interests and skills and passions, and you're not always sure how to like bring those. Are there ways, whether it's sort of a more, like task oriented, like volunteering role, or helping like gather input from or educate the community. Like, just heard from a few different people kind of wondering, like, what can I do proactively outside of meetings? And as a relatively new commission, I think that's a great question, and one that there's some flexibility on. And frankly, I think all of our city commissions, that's sort of an open question, as we get wonderful commissioners who want to be more active. But also recognizing, I think the major limiting factor, which Rachel is maybe being diplomatic about, is that staff time is really a limiting factor when it comes to like how many big new ideas can we start, and knowing that even something that I've had to learn on council, even something that seems like, oh, we could just like go do this, often there's like 10 to 50 to a couple hundred hours of staff work behind some of those projects. And so, yeah, that's sort of the balance we're finding. But in terms of specific ideas, community gardens, whether that's, I think one person had shared, like, could there even be just like a community tour or highlighting of like people's private gardens, but just to give up folks ideas? Could there be like actual community garden plots in some of the parks or other public spaces? But that's the one I remember, that one specifically because multiple people had mentioned it, but I'm sure I'm forgetting more things. The Wood Lake Nature Center idea came up as something that even folks who like hadn't attended themselves still thought was like a cool idea for when someone on the commission wants to run with something and invite the community in. And that kind of the goal would not necessarily be to have like projects that everyone needs to be part of, but that it's okay if people want to do this in small groups or pairs, and that because of open meeting law, it might actually be easier for 1 to 3 people to work on something. But also, we can't have 12 projects happening at once necessarily. So anyway, I've talked enough. I'll pass it back to the group.
Great, thank you for those opening thoughts, Ben. And folks should be able to see Rachel's screen now, and hopefully you can actually edit directly into the document too. But if you can't, just unmute or put what you want in the chat box, and we'll get your idea entered. But maybe do you want to start, Rachel, with just like a quick overview of what's already in
Yeah, I definitely
slide
can.
1?
So as everyone's aware, we have the tree preservation policy. Right now, that is currently like at the point that is like entirely on staff. So this is a commission related project, but it's not waiting for action from the commission right now. So there's that. Ongoing solid waste education, whether that's tabling at farmers markets or spreading the word about organics or whatever that means. It's just going to be an existing project probably for the length of this commission. Partners in energy work will continue, and similar to how it is now, updates for the commission, asking commissioners to spread the word, make connections with community members, and then get involved as they'd like. Of course, the Wood Lake invasive removal event series that Ben was mentioning, that Brian pretty much created earlier this year, assuming that we would all like that to continue. I put that on here. If that's something that should be revisited, we can do that as well. But yeah, continuing that partnership with Wood Lake. Community gardens planning. Amy and I can talk more about this at a future meeting, but basically it's going to take a lot of planning before we can even have community gardens, and she and I have learned that over our visits to multiple community gardens in other cities, and thinking about things like access to water, which is a very important need and also a very hard one to achieve sometimes. So it's going to take a little bit for community gardens, and yeah, I think that's going to be a good planning project for next year. And then, of course, like I said, I added the sustainability fair brainstorming planning ideas. I guess it's not really an existing one since it was just brought up tonight, but it's on our radar too. So that's what I thought of off the top of my head. Like I said, I'm sure I'm missing something. So if anybody else can think of anything that this group has talked about before, or that, we knew that we were going to work on next year, I can add this.
Rachel, I should know this, but does this already include the pieces of the climate action plan that were slated for, or did we, now I can't
That's a
remember.
really good question. Yeah.
Did we put years on that?
Yeah, so we did. And maybe we were slightly ambitious in that. That's a really good reminder for me to go back at some point and soon and look at that and see what was slated for this year, besides organized collection, and other stuff that we've been working on, and B, what is slated for next year. And yeah, kind of connect that stuff too. I don't know off the top of my head either what is the biggest project for 2021 was organized collection. So hey, at least we're getting somewhere with the climate action plan.
Okay. I'll maybe, as we're talking, I'll see if I can find some of that, because I'd hate for us to like add in a bunch of cool new ideas at the expense of then realizing we don't have capacity for that stuff too.
Yeah, I can grab it. Yeah, I'll definitely take some time to look at it, because obviously there's it's like just tables. So I'll spend some more time looking at that, and I can bring more of a better analysis to the January meeting.
Thanks for that reminder, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Folks are busy populating that second slide. So what I want to do next is actually just have a few more minutes of quiet to give folks the opportunity to think and continue to build on this. So we're just going to take like 3 more minutes, maybe like 2 to 3 more minutes to take a look at what people are adding and add some more ideas if you have them. And then we'll start to have an open discussion about some of the specific ideas and themes that we're keep on adding.
Sorry, Amanda, I know you asked for quiet. Jeremy, were you able, have you added your digital booklet idea? Because I just saw that in my notes and I want to make sure that's captured.
This is for bus.
Hey, Rachel. I'm not really able to talk very much right now. I'm just kind of listening in, and so no, I can't type that in, unfortunately.
I'll just put it on there
if you
for you.
want-
No worries.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's just take 1 more minute. So wrap up any ideas you've got going. All right, great. Well, Rachel said we didn't have to fill every square, but we got a solid 50% already. And you can, of course, feel free to keep adding. We're still brainstorming. Well, let's go ahead and start talking about some of these ideas. So clearly folks are excited and, I'm seeing a lot of great ideas here. Maybe we can, I'm trying to decide if we should like look for themes, or maybe what we'll start with is just if anybody wants to talk about some of the ideas that they added, we can just kind of open the floor and folks can call out some of the ideas that they added and why. Does anyone want to go first with that?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Great.
Yeah, so mine are really around community-oriented volunteering. I think that's my appeal. I really want to get my hands dirty and in and like educate. And so a lot of the stuff, while simple, or could be deemed as simple, I feel are impactful, especially for me. It reaches different levels. So that's where my head kind of goes, is like actually being with the community, doing certain actionable items. So.
Do you want to call out some of those specific items that you added, Alyssa?
Yeah, so for me, the ongoing community cleanup, I call it trash walking. But it could be a group, it could be once a week, once a month, it could be different like throughout the community, but I love like an ongoing activity. I also did like the Home Gardens Minnesota Native Plant Garden Education for homeowners. I have a bunch of gardens at my own house. I still learning, but again, ongoing education on that kind of goes hand in hand with the parade of homes. But I mean, I want to like touch it. I want to get in the dirt and feel and understand the plants, and but in our own gardens, right? So that's kind of just where my head goes. And then I also did the Community Earth Day celebration. I think it would be cool to do an actual solid. I mean, we go big for the 4th of July, but it would be cool to do something specific for Earth Day or something like that. But yeah.
Absolutely. Maybe a sustainability fair in collaboration with the League of Women Voters.
Yep.
Wow, Amanda,
Cool.
what an idea.
Yeah.
This is great, Alyssa. Yeah, like this is very events oriented, like thinking of different events that that we might be able to hold. Anyone else want to go next?
I was hoping whoever wrote Green Event Team could just elaborate a little bit on it. I think I know where it's going, but I'm just curious.
That's me, Rachel.
Great, Amy.
Yeah. No, I was just I was I know
Like
I'm
Red,
not,
White, and Blue Days, that kind of stuff.
well, I know I'm not an official commissioner, but I just had this idea working collaboratively with the Sustainability Commission to have you know, a table at every event that could just help oversee some of the sustainability efforts at the event. I was at a big race this summer out in Colorado, and they had, you know, a tent where you could go ask, like, where do I put this? Where do I put this? You know, as far as recycling goes and composting. And they had shirts on, like green team, event green team kind of thing. But I just thought for a few really big city events, it would be nice to have a central spot with information. You know, like the Urban Wildland Race, we already do so much work around sustainability there. But yeah, like Red, White, and Blue Days would be awesome at the dance and at the music. Penn Fest. It could even be just going to some of the event meetings and maybe advising some of the work that they're doing to make sure they're thinking through all the green efforts or, you know, green options for an event.
Cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. So glad we're on the same page.
Can you, clarifying question, and it might be both. Are you thinking more to help the event be green, or specifically to do like sustainability education, like at like tabling at these events?
Yeah, probably both. Because I was just thinking of this event we were at this summer, how effective it was. Like, you knew to go over to that tent to recycle and compost, but then they knew so much even about wrappers and like where to put the wrappers, and they were doing education to help people know what was recyclable. So maybe a little bit of both.
I think maybe this isn't exactly the direction that Amy was thinking, but I think in similar to what we do for Urban Wildland, like obviously that event's a little different because it's so set up for sustainability, and it's been integrated so well. It's not fair to compare it to an event like Penn Fest or something like that. But for the race, you know, we have obviously staff interacting with, you know, race planners and everything to make sure like that it is continuing to be as sustainable as possible. But then day of, we obviously have like-minded volunteers who are there to help with waste sorting and making sure, you know, pretty much most of it's going into the organics, because we work really hard to make sure that most of it's compostable and things like that. So I think a lot of it is the volunteering the day of, the education that a lot of commissioners have from experience or being an MRC or something like that. But of course, you know, if the planning itself is something that, you know, anyone is interested in, that's a great opportunity to get involved as well. We are trying to get staff to, and by staff I mean me and Amy, to help out on some of these events more with talking to Red, White, and Blue Days and PennFest, and so there is a role for staff to play there. But of course, if commissioners are interested in the planning aspect, that's a great opportunity too.
And
Yeah.
other
And some of
residents might
these,
be too.
I just know from working on a lot of these events, some of them generate so much waste in such a short amount of time. So if we can, move our big community events to 0 to low waste events, that would be, really neat. And there'd be a lot of education around it to do along the way, I think.
Well, I think this idea pairs well with Alyssa's ideas around some of these specific, more sustainability-oriented events. So maybe not even just greening within existing events, but maybe an event team could help brainstorm and organize some of these other events like trash walking, which I really like that word. All right. Ryan, can I pick on you? Because it sounds like Jeremy's not able to talk. So give
Yeah.
you the opportunity to talk up your ideas.
So I put on, I'll turn my camera on. I put on food forest and resources on Albedo conscious construction. Food forest, there are a couple of empty lots that I'm not sure if are owned by Richfield, and I was trying to look into it. And I wasn't able to find it. And then I believe it's called Apple Blossom Park. It's kind of the redheaded stepchild. And I feel like that'd be a really good site for it because I go by there all the time and I don't see people there. So using the space that we have to try to support local food in a way other than food market, the farmers market would be great. So, and I know that goes to the community gardening too, but they're slightly different. And then so Albedo is not like commonly known, so I hyperlinked it to the definition. But it the concept is that sun hits things and it either gets reflected or absorbed. And a lot of our roofing and things are very dark, so they have a very high absorbance. So when we're constructing houses and we're replacing things like roofs, it'd be great to have kind of a guide to reducing energy consumption, because if you choose the right color tone for those things, it can reduce your heating bills, and it also reduces the amount that the sun is actually warming the planet. So that could be resident facing. It could also be like the bigger contractors and things. It could be for them as well.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. And you're right, probably an uncommonly known issue that is ripe for education around albedo and the role it plays in climate change. Great. Anything else that you wanted to share, Brian?
No, I think there are a ton of other great ideas on here too.
Well, I'll go next because I want to piggyback on one of Brian's ideas. I put a couple of tree and forestry oriented ideas down, kind of piggybacking on the food forest idea. So tree planting events, I know we had a couple of those in 2021, maybe over 2021 and 2020. I lose track of time, but those are always popular. But I think beyond just like tree planting events, because those are certainly popular, but there's this other need in the city to kind of like identify on a broad scale where we can expand our urban forests. So there's a lot of energy in the climate action world right now around the potential for natural climate solutions like reforestation and expansion of urban forests to play a role in capturing carbon and mitigating climate change. And, you know, I think that every public land manager, big and small, has a role to play in that. You know, so this idea has come up before, but this idea of kind of like doing a citywide assessment of opportunity areas for expanding on our urban forest canopy, and not just like planting individual trees, but like, are there pockets of public land, you know, that could be turned into a wooded area? Are there private land areas that there could be outreach and collaboration with like businesses or other private landowners, where we could be adding, you know, small little pockets of urban forest here and there. And so I think that there's an opportunity there that's bigger than just kind of like ad hoc tree planting events, and that would fit in well with some of the goals of our climate action plan. And, you know, that kind of goes with Brian's food forest idea, because I think, like, you know, some of those could be like food forest oriented, depending on if there's that opportunity for, you know, like providing food, and also the education and community involvement that goes in with maintaining a food forest. Like, you get the benefit of both the trees and then kind of the community garden aspect of a food forest. And Apple Blossom Park is in my neighborhood, so I like that idea. I've had similar ones for that little area, because it doesn't seem to be very used. And then somebody else put tree sale. That wasn't me, but I just wanted to call it out because I think that idea has been brought up, and it's a good one, and it kind of fits into this overall tree idea. And then the other thing that I added was sustainability-oriented policy review of city ordinances. And I put that one again in reference to some of the goals in our climate action plan, because there was a section that kind of referred to opportunities to review city policy, especially around like urban agriculture and gardening and things like that. But, you know, I think it would be interesting to do a more comprehensive like policy review of our ordinances to see, like, are these in support of our sustainability goals? Are they in support of our climate action goals? And maybe this has been done in the past, you know, I'm not aware of it. And I realize something like this would be a big undertaking. I'm not necessarily suggesting that like Rachel do a policy review,
Yeah,
you know, but like, you know, maybe it's like something in the future, like if we have the opportunity to hire a contractor or something, like to, you know, a policy, natural resource policy person to do something like that. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, that's kind of maybe more of a long-term thing rather than a 2022.
As I think, just as a side note on that specific one, if there are individual ordinances that come up in these kinds of other projects that, you know, should also be taken, you know, that we should take a look at, and staff should update or revise or whatever, I think in the short term, that's an easier way to go about this stuff. As someone who has only revised one ordinance in my career, but like, and by revised, I mean repealed and replaced. So it's basically writing an entire ordinance. It's not the quickest or easiest or most fun process to go through. So when things come up, like looking for, you know, no mow May, which is actually something that should no mow May, you know, and knowing that that brings ordinances along with it, I think just being aware of all these ideas and looking at ordinances at the specific time might be a better way short term to go about that one. But yeah, I agree, Amanda. I wish we had time to kind of do that long term, maybe.
Did others want to share any thoughts
Hi,
about?
Amanda. It's Jeremy. I can.
Oh, you can talk.
Yeah, I can talk now. I'm in a
Great.
safe space. So, thank you for being patient. I was in a car previously coming back, so I wasn't really able to talk. But I just wanted to add my idea with this like digital booklet. I thought we could maybe even as a sustainability commission work on identifying resources of different areas, maybe like with trees and composting and maybe backyard gardening, just all these things that, you know, our residents can do to help support our sustainability mission. and put it into like a digital handbook that can be shared very easily then, especially with new residents that come into the city. We could, part of the welcome packet that we have, we can provide that with them and give them this sort of kind of extensive list of resources and ideas and guidance of where to turn to get further information or support if they want to go for solar panels and that sort of thing. And the idea of rebates, just whatever we can think of, put it into this sort of digital booklet that we can then share with our residents.
Very cool idea, Jeremy. Did staff or Ben want to share any other thoughts or ideas that you might have added this chart? Roxanne or
I can say I didn't add any specific ones, but I think all of these are great. Echo a lot of things that I've heard. I as the list grows with more good ideas, I think what I'm most interested in, and I don't expect you to be able to like parse this out on the spot. It's maybe what we'll have to revisit in January, but I'm curious staff's sense of like what is realistic, and if there are particular projects that feel more like commissioners as individuals or as a small team could kind of take them and run with them, and they don't necessarily need a ton of staff time or don't have as many, I'm sure there'll be some, but as many of the moments where it kind of gets all funneled through staff. But yeah, I guess I'm curious, like how much feels possible with the capacity that we have now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and Amy and I talk about this a lot. And I think part of it will be it's going to be important to prioritize things, obviously. So I think we'll have to spend some time at a future meeting with having commissioners prioritize or rank or whatever, trying to see what would be of all of these suggestions and ideas, what would be a priority for 2022, and within that, what can be taken on by commissioners, more so than staff. I think a fair amount of these things can, or at least have staff involvement for promotion and the distribution of resources and things like that, but perhaps the creation of some of these things can at least get off the ground with commissioners. So I think it's going to be important for that communication from commissioners to come to staff about how much time commissioners are able and willing to put into these ideas, especially the ones that could be taken on more so by the commission. I think it is a good sign that a lot of these are already on, the radar. Not a lot of this is new ideas for us, which is good. Some of them obviously take more work than others, and some we've been working towards getting to a place where we can implement these anyway, so that's exciting. I am excited also because some of these can bring in other staff, so it won't just be me or Amy or something like that. A lot of these can also be done in conjunction with other recreation staff or other public works staff especially. So I added the pollinator plantings along the sound wall. That's a public works an idea that actually came from Chris Link that he wants to do, and I suggested maybe it could be a public event with the commission and the community to help plant that, even though it's a thing that public works wants to do. So yeah, I think this is a good start for sure, but I do encourage everybody to kind of, I'll send obviously this brainstorming session information out, and to spend the time between now and our next meeting thinking about what would be a priority for you as an individual commissioner that you would be able to then put time towards as well, and that'll give us a better idea of what's realistic in 2022.
Yeah,
Roxanne, did you have anything that you wanted to share? I just wanted to give you the opportunity to talk if you wanted to. Okay. Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, I would add too if you know, commissioners can think about, as we mentioned earlier, the Green Step Cities, solid waste goals and the climate action goals, and as we start to prioritize the work and, you know, maybe see which ones align with several of those other like bigger picture goals that the city has, to move the needle forward with our sustainability work. I was going to add too, I did add the Wood Lake new building work, and you know, moving forward with a new building for the nature center, it of course will be you know, sustainably designed, and hopefully, you know, we can have regular check-ins with the Sustainability Commission and bounce ideas off of them as we start to work, you know, with some of the architects. And there's so many cool sustainable design features for buildings these days, and we want to make sure we're really building a building of the future. So hopefully we can, you know, do a lot of updates and vetting and idea sharing with the Sustainability Commission. One of our bigger park projects is community gardens. You know, if people know the history of community gardens in Richfield, we've had them for a long time. We haven't had them the last several years, but historically we have had community gardens. We'd like to bring them back to Richfield. It's definitely on my radar for parks. I think goal for parks is to really start planning community gardens in 2022. I've had interest from other groups and in the community, and then hopefully implementation in 2023. I think it's going to take some planning, and also some funding. So it might be some grant writing and things like that in the coming year. But it's definitely on my radar for 2022 to kind of lay some of the groundwork for that to happen.
Great. Well, I want to offer a couple of themes that I see in these ideas. You know, I see the theme of hosting more sustainability-minded events and maybe even having an event team to help with that. There's a strong education theme in here. Got this idea of scheduling educational opportunities at the farmers market, you know, creating a booklet, a sustainability booklet, having resources on albedo conscious construction, you know, the education around home gardens, so events and education. You know, there's this kind of land-based theme. So there's some urban forestry stuff in here, quite a few different ideas related to urban forestry, but also pollinator habitat. So ways that we can use our land more sustainably. And then there's, you know, a little bit of policy idea in there too, with the no mow May and policy review, kind of a more minor one. But yeah, some great themes and great ideas. And I think certainly some of these will nest under some of the ongoing work that Rachel already listed in that first slide. So hopefully, Rachel, you can see some of this is just, you know, building upon the work that's happening and not just like a ton of new work. But thank you for allowing us the opportunity to have this brainstorm, because I just think it is important, like Ben said, to give people that are in this group the opportunity to kind of share why you're here and what sort of goals and dreams you have for sustainability of our city in the future. So thank you for doing that. Does anyone have any final thoughts that you wanted to share about this work plan conversation?
I think just a quick note that I think it'd be a great goal that we get to the point where some of, like, obviously some of the like policy stuff is always going to have to go through city staff and the commission, but like some of these events and education, how awesome if we get to a point where more of that is happening than just this commission can hold, but there's other groups that want to lead pieces of that. And so I think great that the League of Women Voters was here, and just encourage each of you, as you're connected with different community groups or just neighbors, that part of what I was excited about when people started sharing ideas is more of the permission giving, that especially things of that nature don't need to, you don't need permission to get excited about this kind of stuff. And so if you have you are part of or know of community groups that want to be in on this too, please loop them in. And if they're looking for guidance as they get started, I'd love to talk with them. I'm sure you're very capable of it, each of you as well, but wanted to have that be brainstorming, not just what, but also who else can be part of it.
Thanks for that, Ben. I forgot I did want to call out your sustainability ambassadors idea that you put in the chat. All right. Well, thanks for this great conversation. It's getting pretty late, so we should move along in our agenda and just spend a few more minutes wrapping up our last couple of items. The next is to talk about that letter to the county about the anaerobic digester and try to keep it real quick. I would like to try to share my screen, Rachel. It's okay.
Do I have to give you permission or something?
I don't think so. And you're not sharing anymore. I had hid what you were sharing, so I wasn't sure if you were
Oh
still
no, you're good.
sharing.
Yeah, we can
So I
see
wanted
yours
to
now.
see. Okay, well, I just wanted to pull up this revised letter. So I wanted to thank Brian and Jeremy for providing some edits to this. I apologize, I had forgotten to incorporate them before this meeting, but so I did it just before this meeting, and I hope that I didn't make too many typos in your feedback, but I appreciate that you sent those comments. I have incorporated them as best I could. The only thing I don't have is, Rachel, I apologize. I didn't see the numbers that you pulled together.
No problem.
Things, so I tried digging for them and I couldn't find it.
No, it's fine. I mean, just off the top of my head, I would say to date over 2,000 households have signed up for the drop-off program. I can get you a much more solid number for drop-off. Sorry, I thought that was curbside. And then for tons of organics waste, like I said, 45.5 tons from the curbside program in October and November. If you want me to calculate the entire tonnage for the 3 years of the drop-off program, I can do that, but that's going to take a little bit. So I can do that tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we can just keep placeholders in here for now about that. Yeah, and I still have just more than 20% of households for curbside.
Yeah, I
which
would
is still
put
accurate.
Yeah. For the drop-off program, I just looked it up and I have about 975 registrations. Of course, that was before curbside launched. So that's the hard part to tell now that we have 2 organics options. I don't know how many of the drop-off registrations now use curbside. So I don't know what the best way to convey that is. When people sign up, obviously we don't, we have the address, but we don't ask them to say if they live in a single family house and have access to curbside organics collection. So
Yeah, and that's okay. I think we just wanted to preface this by saying we had great success with
for sure.
the drop-off program. So that's just kind of to show the historic success. So I do think if we can get the total tons here, that would be kind of cool because it shows like over the course of the program, like
waste management gives us an average. Like they'll say based on the size of your dumpster, here's how, if it's full every week, here's how much it weighs, because they only weigh dumpsters that are like over 10 yards in capacity, I think, and ours are obviously not anywhere close to that. So I can give you the estimate based on the math that they give me for tonnage over the past few years. It just takes a little bit because obviously we haven't had the same size dumpsters all 3 years and we haven't had the same amount of pickups per week all 3 years. So it takes a little bit of time, but I can definitely get you that number.
No worries. All right. Well, hopefully folks are getting a chance to look this over. But I just wanted to see if there were any other comments that anyone wanted to share about this letter or suggestions. All right, hearing none, we'll make one more edit. Laura is officially moved and no longer a commissioner. Is that correct, Rachel?
As far as I know, she's not here, and I have not been having her on the email list, so I assume she has moved to Grand Marais.
Okay, well, if there are no further questions or comments, I just want to, we will fill in these missing statistics, but, pending minor edits, I'd like to call for a motion to approve sending this letter to the county. It'll be going to Ben Knutson. So do I have a motion to approve this letter of support for the proposed anaerobic digester facility in Hennepin County from our commission?
I'll motion to approve it. This is Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I second that.
Alyssa. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Right. I was like, any opposed?
Amanda, did you say aye?
I said aye.
All right, great. Then we're all good.
So that is unanimous. We have
Yep.
four.
All
right, the motion.
This morning we had our legislative breakfast with legislators, senators, the Met Council, county commissioners, and some other elected officials. And this was on our platform for a priority for support, the anaerobic digester. And it did get some conversation, and that everyone was in huge support of it in growing the county's organics program and making sure the infrastructure is there to support it and not having to transport the material so far, but have something more locally based. And it was neat to see elected officials talk about the importance of this. I haven't always seen that. And them so excited about it. And so it did sound like there's a lot of support though. And I'm pretty hopeful this would pass in the bonding bill and be constructed. So
great. Well, the motion is approved, and I will submit this letter to Ben Knutson this month. All right, I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. There we go. I think I'm not looking at the agenda, but I think we just have the
CSC update.
CSC update. Amy, are you going to be giving that?
Sure.
I hope so.
Yeah. Last month we did a joint commission meeting with the Planning Commission, and we had guests from 494 project come talk with us about the placemaking work that we're going to be doing. And basically, as they relook at 494 and reconstructing and improving it from towards the airport or Cedar down to, I think, Highway 100 area. As it goes through Richville, there's going to be some opportunities for the commission and planning commission to look at the kind of the aesthetic of the materials used, the design, how does it represent our community, does it involve public art, things like that. So we had a great presentation with them and a good discussion as to kind of the direction, some of the things I think the commissioners are interested in seeing. The group is also organizing our food shelf program right now through Veep. It's going from December 1st through the 15th, and there's drop-off locations across the city and at all the city facilities. We have a long ways to go to reach our goal of 5,000 pounds. So if you see posts about it, if you can share it, on your page or within any of your networks, I think our goal is 5,000 and we are not even at 1,000 and we have less than a week to go. So we have a lot of food to hopefully get donated. And I know Veep is in great need of more food. So and people can also donate toiletries and diapers and things like that. But the commission did one load over to Veep last Friday and they'll be going over there next week as well.
Sorry, Amy, should residents bring their donations directly to Veep or?
No, they should bring it to one of the drop-off locations. And you know, an easy one is the Richfield Community Center. In the lobby, we are collecting donations, but it can be any of the municipal liquor stores, arena, City Hall, Woodlake. Yeah. So whatever is convenient. There's also, if you go onto the city's website, there's a map. So there's a handful of residences too, scattered across the city where people have bins out in their yard that people can put food donations in as well. We talked a little bit about Woodlake and that project. We also talked about winter programming, and we are shifting, you know, obviously from fall to winter, and we're hopeful that we are able to, you know, successfully have warming houses open this winter. You know, last winter with COVID, we weren't able to do that, and also winter athletics, which we weren't able to do a lot of last year either because of COVID. So with a lot of mitigation and safe practices, we're hopeful we're able to bring some of these opportunities back for folks. That's it. And we take a break for December and then we'll be meeting back in January.
Thanks, Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add a report from council?
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick but important and sustainability related, that some good work has been moving with the planning department. The council just passed an update to bicycle parking requirements. So now it's only for new construction. It doesn't like retrofit existing buildings, but greatly expanded how much bicycle parking is required. Including like certain numbers of indoor spaces for residential development. So continuing to increase the bike infrastructure. The other ones that are in the works are related to more electric vehicle charging stations, requiring those in new construction. And then also a little more of a stretch, but increasing density options, looking at like, are there more places where duplexes or townhomes could be in the city? Yeah, all that is in the works, and some more directly related to sustainability than others. But if that's something you're curious about, I'm happy to talk more later.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Any other comments for the good of the order? All right, hearing none, our next meeting will be January 27th. Again, at 7 p.m. But yeah, I was going to say, but I believe that for the indeterminable future will be remaining virtual until we hear otherwise. Is that correct, Rachel?
Yeah, I just wanted to call that out because I know on the agenda it slipped past me, and I think it still says the Bartholomew Room. So we will continue to be virtual, like Amanda said, until until something changes. So council's meetings are virtual, all commission meetings are virtual, and yeah, hopefully it helps bring a little more flexibility as well for everybody.
It does make it easier to share my screen while typing notes. Certainly, we hope to gather in person again someday soon, but for now, we'll see you virtually in January. We want to thank our guest, Dan, for joining us. Yeah, go back and say great things to your Sustainability Commission and come anytime.
Yeah, thanks for letting me join. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. All right, everyone, enjoy your holidays and stay safe in the big snowstorm we're having this weekend.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry, I totally forgot about that part. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Alyssa. Can I get a second?
I'll second that. That's Jeremy again.
Thanks, Jeremy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are adjourned at 8:25.